Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20 and welcome to episode 83 of FTB Revelations. Today's plan, Draconic Reactor. So I'm taking the exploration dimension that I created a while back. I'm going to charge it back up because it's been sitting in a crate somewhere, drawing 25 R of a tick slowly but surely from itself. With the intention of going there and building my reactor. And as you can see, I've got some of the things that I need here. Now, there's a handful of other things that might not be a bad idea to get. Like Flux Gates might be cool. I think Flux Gates might be cool. That's a thing from Draconic Evolution that I think might be cool. So let's look at that. So I need a potentiometer for sure, which unfortunately requires some ground-up draconium, but that's okay. That shouldn't be too much of a problem. Where's my... Man, it's a while since we've used these machines, isn't it? Pulverizer. Hello, sir. Where do you output to? Nowhere. That's fine. Just get me a few potentiometers so I can get a few flux gates. That looks cool. I just need... How about 4 of you? I don't think I need 4 of these. I think just 2 is about what I need. And I'll talk to you guys about what these are all about in a little bit. So let's put you away. We'll just get all... 2 should be enough. If I need more, I can make them remotely. We'll call that good. So we've got our dimension all charged up and ready here. I made a separate dimension builder to store the energy for this so that this dimension will always remain powered. That way, you know, it always remains powered and doesn't have a problem. And it's only using 25 R for tick. So, I mean... Not a big deal. Home base, teleporting over to Dimension Exploration 2. Dial 1 should be fine for now. We'll start teleporting. And hello, Dimension, how are you? So what I'm thinking we could do, because this is like a nice flat world, let's head off in a position here. Woo! To somewhere. Like 500 blocks away from anything, really. And night times are bad, right? You guys all have some kind of like speed boost going on, or is it just lag from all the terrain gen I just caused? I mean, we did just cause a little bit of terrain generation. I'm gonna add this as a new position called Draconic Reactor. That should be cool. I'm gonna lock it up. And then we can just teleport here, no problem. Sweet. Not bad at all. Should I set up a ritual? Maybe keep the mobs away kind of ritual? Might not be a bad idea. Is this Lucerna? I forget. Where's the Astral Tome? If this is Lucerna, I can really quickly... Yeah, that's Lucerna. All I need is like 1... Astral doohickey, right? And man, we still have a lot of good crystals going on, so... Lucerna, do the thing. And then I just need a ritual pedestal. Make that real quick. Be right back. You know what? I had an astral pedestal in the A system for some reason. Forget why. Maybe... I have no idea why. But I did, so I grabbed it. And then we should be able to Draconic Reactor, teleport right over this spot. And then what we can do is just set up with our copy-paste gadget here, which we'll put on paste mode. I just need you to be up 1 more level. That works. Actually, reset you. Okay, cool. Does that work? Yeah, right there should be fine. So you do that, and you do this, and suddenly we should have no mob spawns around here. Sweet. So if I flew away... and then came back, there should effectively be no mobs. Okay, that works. How cool is that? This is actually... This here is a Twilight Forest dimension. You can see because there's Twilight Forest mobs and there's these things. Totally a Twilight Forest dimension thingy. Whatchamacallit. That's cool. Alright, anyway, let's do some work, shall we? Putting away my astral marbly stuff, because that's all done, and into here you can go, and that looks cool to me. So what we're making is a Draconic Reactor today. This thing is dangerous. seriously dangerous. You know the explosion that happens when you kill the Chaos Dragon? If you don't take care of your reactor, that's the explosion you're going to get. Okay? Heads up, warning. Big time warning. I'm going to kick off the craft of a few Awakened Draconium blocks because that's your fuel source. So let's see if we can figure this out and see if I can remember how this thing works. So we want a Reactor Energy Injector. Okay. But not in that direction. Hey. Killing me, Smalls. What do you face towards me? There you go. Shift click gets the job done. And then what I'm thinking is 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks up. We'll put the reactor core. And then what I'll do is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to have my reactor stabilizer, which that looks like it's facing the wrong way to me. So do I just click it? Yeah, I think that looks good. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then click. Oh, facing the wrong way. Click. Click. I'm hoping this is right. If it's not, well, we'll figure it out. So we'll know we're right if we right-click this thing and we see status offline. If the status was invalid setup, we would know that we did something wrong. But this looks good so far. All right, so this is pretty straightforward. The basic gist is the fuel goes in here. And then what we need to do is feed energy into the reactor using the Draconic Energy Injector, which is this dude right here. So he needs to receive energy and transmit that energy into the reactor. Because what's going to happen is we're going to put fuel into the reactor, and there's going to be like a fusion-y kind of reaction. And unlike nuclear craft fusion, the reaction is contained by a force field here. So there's an RF input that we have to pipe in to contain the reaction using a force field. If that force field gets too weak or dies, that's when a reaction will like go out of control and blow up and bad things happen. So we don't want that to happen. So what we do is we get energy out of the reactor stabilizers, I believe, and we feed energy into the reactor energy injector. And we can do that with Flux Gates. Now, the RF Flux Gates have two sides to them, the blue and the orange, and they have an arrow. And that just indicates the direction of power flow, right? So orange is output. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop into here, and we're going to see if I shift-click you, that's going to be that direction. What if I just click you? That works. Cool. So that's energy going into the reactor. So you want the orange direction facing the Draconic Energy Injector. And then what we're going to get are flux points and flux plugs, right? So the point is for getting energy out of the network. That's going to go down here. And you're going to be Darryl20's network. And we're going to use the flux gate to specify how much RF a tick is allowed to flow through this thing, right? So if we set it to like 1,000 RF a tick and hit save, that means only 1,000 RF a tick is allowed to flow when there's no redstone signal. And if there's a higher redstone signal, we could increase that RF a tick to whatever we want, right? Like we can make it 10,000. And I'm not entirely sure like what the best numbers to go with are here, but we're going to play with this a little bit and figure it out. And worst case, we blow the thing up and we have to make another one, which means we have to kill another Chaos Dragon, but life goes on. Now, with regards to getting energy out of the reactor, so see how there's the orange output side here? So basically what we want to do here is have the energy coming out, and that's where our flux plug for adding energy to the network will go. So that guy is going to be on the generator's network, and he's also not going to have a limit to how much power he can go in and out of. Now, realistically, if I wanted to, I could also specify the transfer limit here rather than using the flux gates, but I wanted to show you guys flux gates because that's part of the reactor design if you're doing something that doesn't allow you to easily temper the energy going in and out, right? So for here, let's have 10,000 RF a tick be the output for a low signal, and I don't know, 100,000 RF a tick for a high signal? Oh, that's kind of about right. So I think the next thing to do is to insert fuel into here. So what I'm going to do is get that awakened You should have crafted my awakened draconium. Did I leave something? I always do this. I'm pretty sure what happened is I left this. This is hopefully the last time I'm going to derp up like this. But I'm pretty sure I left these guys on single item mode off. And you guys should all be active. Cool. And now you'll get back to work. There's your problem. Okay. Back to the Draconic Reactor area. See how great that portal thingy is? It just works so well. Okay, so we've got 12 Awakened Draconian blocks. I believe the limit here is 8, for the record. Actually, I'm going to leave that open for a sec. So let's insert that. You can access this thing from either the stabilizers or wherever. It doesn't super matter. So if we put the fuel in here, cool. That looks pretty good. Okay. So my fuel in, can I only have 8? Okay, cool. I guess so. Neat. So I think step 1 is hit the charge button. And again, I'm kind of going off memory here, so I'm remembering a little bit of how this works. So different things are important to pay attention to here. So there's your core temperature. Basically, this has to get to some number in order to kick off fusion. And then the hotter it gets, the more stress it puts on the shield, right? And then over here is the containment field strength. As long as your containment field is not 0, then you should be good, right? But to keep the containment field, the hotter it gets, the more RF it takes to keep it contained. And the higher the field strength you want, the more RF it costs. So, like, you know, you have to kind of be balanced with your RF generation, right? The saturation is how much energy is stored in the reactor. And the reactor wants to be full all the time. So the lower the saturation is, the more energy it produces, aka the hotter it gets. So if you drain slowly out of the reactor, the energy saturation is going to remain high, which means the temperature is going to be lower and the RF cost of the shield is going to be lower, right? But if you try and drain a lot of energy out of the reactor, it's going to require a lot of energy to keep the shield up and running, okay? So let's charge it up. Warming up. Oh, hello. Hello, fusion reactor. So containment field strength is climbing. That's cool. Let's boost up the temperature, the RF transfer here, right? So I'm gonna make you 10,000 RF a tick without a redstone signal. Hey, look, cool. Look at that. How cool is that thingy, huh? That looks awesome, doesn't it? So our containment field strength stores 100 million RF, it looks like. Configure the comparator output for this reactor component. Failsafe. Format error. When enabled, the reactor will automatically initiate shutdown when the temperature drops below 2500 C and saturation reaches 99%. This can be used to automatically shut down the reactor in the event of a malfunction or just when it needs to be refueled. Neat. Oh, that's what's up. Look at that cool stuff, huh? So our containment field strength is climbing. Now, if I gave you a redstone signal, sir, right, I think what we would find is instead of using 10,000 RF a tick through this thing, it would be 100,000 RF a tick through this thing. And we should see this guy climbing that much more quickly. Nice. And you will hopefully generate enough, but we'll see. Okay. So we're at 50% there. Now where does... Hey, energy saturation's happening. That's cool. So are you transmitting your 10,000 RF yet? Not yet. I think once energy saturation hits a point, what we're going to find is we can activate the reactor, because we're only in the warm-up stage right now, right? I believe that to be the case. So I don't know if we're still draining RF down here, are we? We are. Still 100,000 RF a tick. Okay. So we're still using a lot of RF to store energy, okay? So that thing holds 1 billion? Is that what that is? Yeah, 1 billion RF. I'm not worried. We have lots of billions of RF. We have all the billions. You know, and if I was better at the numbers here, I would probably have a better idea of where these should lie. But for now, I'm just taking it slow and steady, and we're just experimenting, right? We're sciencing it out. Because it's been a while since I played with one of these. Like, when was the last time I built a Draconic Reactor? Has it even been 1.12? Oh. It feels like it's been a long time. I'm sure somebody out there knows, right? But to me, it feels like, wow, it's been a long time since I've done this. Should we boost this guy? Like, maybe we'll make you, like, 500,000 and 50,000? So, like, right now it should be at 500,000 RF a tick, right? So that's rapidly climbing the energy saturation level. That's cool. I don't mind dumping more energy into it at the beginning just to be a little extra safe, right? I think that's probably smart. And I mean, if I wanted to, I could go hog wild and just be like, dump all the energies in, and it would probably spike up to energy saturation immediately. But let's see what happens here, right? So you get up to the 50% mark, I think, is probably where you'll be ready to stop. Boom, 50%, cool. All right, hey, temperature's going up, that's neat. Now, are you draining yet? You don't seem to be draining. Are you still RF costing? Yep, still sitting around 500,000 RF a cost. Okay, cool. So I think our core temperature, once it hits, is it 2,000-ish or something? Let's see. Oh, hey, we can activate it now. Well, that's cool. So our warm-up period is over. Our core is pretty much ready, I think, to be activated. Now, once we activate it, the drawing of power will do one thing, right? So the more power we draw, right? So let's make you 1,000,000 RF a tick, and like, how about 100,000? Does that sound cool? So we'll allow 100,000 to pull out without the lever, and 1,000,000 RF a tick to come out with the lever. Sounds like a good time. No idea what I'm doing. And you down here, I'm gonna make you 500,000 and 5,000,000. Now, are you drawing 5,000,000? You're drawing 0 now because we're at the. So I'm gonna turn you off, right? So you're gonna be able to do 500,000 without a signal. If things get crazy, I flip this lever and we start pumping tons of energy into the thing to keep the shield on. That sound fair? Okay, and you're off, which means we're only going to try to draw 100,000 RF a tick out of this thing, and that shouldn't be too bad. So let's activate it and see what happens. Okay, so our generation rate's at 290,000 RF a tick. All right, so our containment strength is going way up. That's cool. The saturation is also climbing, and the temperature also climbing a little bit. Field input rate is pretty high. I want to get these numbers to like stabilize a little bit, right? Fuel conversion rate is going down. I think the hotter it is, the less fuel it uses, right? So like you want to find a sweet spot between nice and hot but not too hot, enough RF being pumped in but not to the point where you're wasting it, because it'll just take all the RF you give it. That seems to be stabilizing a little bit, if I'm not crazy. Generation rate. So like as the energy saturation goes up, it generates less, right? Because it wants to be full. So if I were to flip this lever here, which will make it 1,000,000 RF a tick. Let's make it like 500,000, just to be sure, right? What'll happen is our saturation will start to drop, and then our generation will go up. Does that make sense? Now, is the core temperature? Yeah, that's stabilizing / getting cooler. So if I try to draw more power out of it, right? So what I'm going to do is flip the lever here. We're going to start drawing more energy out of the reactor, which means the saturation is going to drop. The temperature will probably go up as the reactor tries to replace the saturated energy in there. Okay? So let's do it. So saturation is dropping. Generation rate is thereby increasing. Okay? Field input is still pretty high. And then the temperature is going to go up. See the temperature going up there? That's cool. That's cool. And the field input rate is dropping. What I want to see is, so the containment field, the closer to 100% you get, the more cost it is. So by doing an input of 500,000 RF a tick, we're gonna cap out at some point. We're getting pretty close to that number, it looks like. So once our field input hits the 500,000 RF a tick rate, our containment field strength will stabilize and stay at that point. So see how it's dropping, right? Now temperature is also going up, and saturation's dropping. So that's a thing. Okay. And I'm not going off any numbers that I found online. I didn't want to look. I kind of wanted to science it out a little bit. Now, if we get nervous, we can always turn this redstone signal off, and what'll happen is, you'll see this in a moment here, what I'll do is I'll test it. But once we stabilize our field input rate, I want that to stop at 500,000. All right, cool. My containment field strength should be pretty cool at this point. All right. And our temperature is going up, which I guess is good. And our generation rate's at 394. So what are you doing? You're 500,000 RF a tick. So he's pumping energy out like nobody's business. Cool. And I'd like my generation to stabilize at 500,000 RF a tick. Like, I want it to stop there. And that's what should happen, right? As the saturation drops, it's generating more energy to bring that back. Make sense? So what'll happen is, once we hit the generation rate of 500,000 here, we should see this saturation kind of stabilize. And 500,000 RF a tick seems like a pretty good number, to be fair. Our field input rate seems to be pretty stabilizing. Our core temperature is doing pretty good. And I want to see everything stabilize out. Maybe we'll come back in a minute once it's at 500-ish. So for the first time since running this reactor, we've just passed a threshold, and that threshold is we're making more energy than we're consuming, right? Because what are you outputting right now? You're still at negative, it's like ish 500,000, right? And you're outputting 500,000. So we're kind of breaking even-ish on this thing right now. But what we're going to do is we're going to start lowering the RF input. And hopefully, so once we get the generation rate to be at 500,000, which will be the break-even point, because that's how much we're trying to draw out of it, then we'll be ready to start lowering our RF going in and see how that works out. So we know that 500,000 RF a tick is enough to keep this thing stable. So that's what I'll make my high value. And then we'll start adjusting the low value. And if things get wonky or dangerous, we can just flip the lever and then it'll jump a bunch more energy into the thing. So getting close to the generation of 500. What I think I'm also going to do is play with bringing this number up a little bit more. So I made the redstone signal low 500. So if I turn off the redstone signal, it has no effect because we're still drawing 500 out, right? So 500,000 RF a tick is still our output. Okay, so we're really close to that generation rate of 500. I'm just going to wait for it to get there. And don't ask me to tick accelerate this thing. That seems like a really bad idea. So it definitely seems to me like the closer you get to your generation threshold, the slower it becomes in getting moving, right? But we're about to hit that 500,000 RF generation rate. And so my expectation is that this thing will kind of stabilize-ish around that point, I'm thinking. We'll see what happens, right? So saturation's going up now. See how saturation's climbing? Okay, that's cool. So saturation's climbing, which means the generation rate should slow down a little bit. That's neat. Look at that. That's kind of cool, right? And now our core temperature dropped a little bit. I don't know if you saw that, but like it moved down just a smidge. But the core temperature seems to have stabilized. The containment field strength is pretty stabilized. And this guy is pretty stabilized, right? So what I think I'm going to do is adjust this guy. What I'm going to do is turn it on so that it's, let's make it like 250. How's that sound? So if I made you 250,000 RF a tick input, we should see... That's how much we're doing. Oh, wait, that's... No, wait. 500,000. This should be 250. Right? And then the containment field strength will drop. So our goal here is to figure out, like, how low can I make the containment field input such that it's still containing the reaction, right? How much energy can we pull out versus how much energy do we have to pipe in? And find a nice sweet spot in terms of power gen. So like we're already at a field input rate of around 250,000, and our containment field strength is still sitting around 50-ish%. So that's not bad. That means we can drop this significantly more so, which is pretty cool. And we could probably even bump our generation up a little bit if we wanted to be a little bit crazy about it. Like maybe I could make it 550. So if we make it 550, we'll see our saturation drops further, our generation increases, and then our field strength is also going to drop because our field input rate is not going up. It's going, like, we're keeping it at 250, right? So containment field will go down, temperature will go up, and energy saturation will go down. And then we'll have more generation. Let's see how that stabilizes in a few minutes at 550. All right, guys, so we're sitting around the 550 generation rate. So you can see our temperature is a little bit hot, Above 8,000 is where things get a little bit wonky. And you can see the containment field definitely dropped a lot. So maybe I should bring this down a little bit, like 825, does that, or 525, does that seem fair? So if I drop this down to 525, oh boy, that's not good. What happened? What happened? Oh, that's not good. I missed a 0. Well, it looks like you're gonna get to see a reactor explode. That was absolutely 100% not on purpose at all. I 100% meant that for me to be 525. Woo, that is bad times. There is nothing you can do. You are going to die at this point. See, aren't we glad that we didn't build this in our main base? Hey buddy, come here, I need to borrow you for a minute. I think we should write down some numbers here. Give me you back. There's nothing we can do. It's literally impossible to prevent. It's going to explode whether you want it to or not. At this point, it's done for. 100%, nothing you can do to stop it. I mean, legitimately, I could like world edit it or something, right? Like set block it, but no. If short of commands and cheats, you dead. Yeah. Can I like video settings my render distance up a little bit? So we can actually like, how much time we got? 100% not intentional. I really wanted to like balance this out perfectly. It looks like between episodes I'm gonna have to get myself, so 1 minute, huh? Between episodes I'm gonna have to get myself another Ender Dragon kill under my belt and potentially make 4 more Reactor Stabilizers and another Injector and all the things. Not terribly expensive, but yeah. Whoops. And it was just like, boom, you dead, Direwolf. You dead. Sorry, temperature going up. Containment strength down. Oh, hey, buddy. Insult to injury, why don't you? Oh, that's right, I got rid of my ritual. Well, alright. Well, none of the monsters in this area are going to be alive for much longer, that's for sure. Really, really, I'm not even kidding. Like, that was not an on purpose. That was 100% an accident. I know lots of YouTubers would be like, oops, look what I did! Thumbnail. But, like, no, for reals. That was completely by mistake. You know Dyer. He derps and he derps by mistake. That's not good. Oh, that's an explosion. Oh, hello. Oh, boy, that's an explosion. Whoo, that is an explosion. Oh, that hurt. Oh, my goodness. Reasons we did not do this near our base. This is the epicenter of the explosion. Well, that's a thing. That is cool. Look at these blocks here. Like, why did these guys get left like that? Some kind of weird explosion calculation, I'm sure. But, so that's a thing that just happened. My goodness. Just so you guys can see what this looks like. Alrighty then. Hey, cool. There was like something underground here. Neat. Whoops. Hello, random vine. Who's apparently explosion proof. That is awesome. 100% cool. And to be fair, like, remember when that would be like a huge lag on the game and like the game would crash from that explosion? Not as much. To be fair, it wasn't near my base. So let's go home. You know what, actually, I'm gonna designate a new area. That's going to be, roughly speaking, I don't even know where. How about over here? Does this seem like a new spot? This seems like a new spot to me. Let's get our copy-paste gadget. Let's get this guy in place. Let's get you back up and running. And then... we can unlock you, set here, and then relock you, right? That looks pretty good, right? So then fly away. Let mobs despawn. And then, like I said, between episodes, I'll get another one of those dudes, and then we'll be a little bit more careful next time. I mean, I'm just shocked at how quickly it ran away with the power. I mean, to be fair, I made it from 500,000 to 5 million, so it was like a 10x increase, right? Bad news all around, but nonetheless, it just like almost immediately said, nope, I'm exploding, and there's nothing you can do about it, Direwolf. All right, Direwolf20 signing off. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. We'll come back next time and hopefully get a more stable reactor. We won't spend the whole episode doing it. We'll do a small portion of the episode doing it. Meanwhile, just out of curiosity, how am I for gold? Oh, I'm good. And to be fair, this thing hasn't even been running this whole time. I turned it off a while ago. So, like, it's not even running at the moment. See? Nothing's happening. Redstone signal on, and it'll go crazy again, but we got a lot of gold, and we're cool. How are we for wither skeleton skulls? We ran out of those. So we're at 674 again. Like, we hit 500 and something nether stars, and we ran out of skulls. So maybe we'll look at improving that thing at some point. I don't know, we'll see. Direwolf20 signing off. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Take it easy.